Before 2026 arrives, I want you to stop chasing everything that's pulling you away from yourself. Because let's be honest, you've spent so much time trying to fix, prove, and please others that you've forgotten what it feels like to be centered. You've been everywhere but here, inside your own life, your own goals, your own mind. The truth is, nothing changes until you do. The world won't slow down for you to catch up. So if you're tired of the same cycle, if you're done being distracted by noise, this is your moment. This is your reminder to lock in, focus on you, and build the version of yourself that 2026 won't even recognize. Stop managing people. Start managing yourself. You spend so much time trying to convince others to see what you see, to act how you act, to think how you think. But the truth is, that's not your job. You can't control anyone's behavior, no matter how much you want to. You can only control how you show up. Every moment you waste trying to fix someone else is energy stolen from your own growth. The strongest people don't demand change from others. They embody it so powerfully that the people around them either evolve or drift away. Think about how often you get frustrated because someone doesn't meet your expectations. Maybe a friend doesn't support you the way you hoped. Maybe a colleague doesn't share your drive. Maybe someone close to you just doesn't get it. And you keep explaining yourself, arguing, defending your mindset, trying to prove a point. That's emotional exhaustion disguised as effort. You can't drag people into discipline, focus, or ambition. You can only inspire it through example. When you master yourself, you shift from needing others to follow to simply leading by energy. Managing yourself means holding yourself accountable when no one is watching. It's about recognizing your patterns, the excuses you make, the habits that slow you down, the emotional triggers that pull you off track. It's uncomfortable because real growth demands radical honesty. When you stop pointing fingers and start looking in the mirror, that's where transformation begins. You can't control who supports you, but you can control how consistent you remain. You can't decide who stays in your life, but you can decide who you become while they're watching. Every time you react to someone else's behavior, you hand them power. Every time you chase validation, you lose focus on your mission. Imagine what you could build if all that mental energy went back into your purpose, your health, your mindset, your work. That same energy that goes into overthinking, arguing, or managing others could have built the discipline that changes your life. When you stop managing people and start mastering your own emotions, you rise above the chaos. You become untouchable, not because you're perfect, but because you're focused. And the beauty of that shift, you stop needing to prove your worth. You no longer beg people to understand you. You move with quiet certainty. Your confidence grows, not from attention, but from alignment. The people meant for you will notice that. The ones who aren't will fade away. That's how you build peace, not by controlling your surroundings, but by controlling yourself within them. So before 2026 arrives, take back your energy. Stop trying to manage, fix, or control anyone. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to become the kind of person who doesn't need to chase, convince, or force anything. Focus on your lane, your habits, your discipline. Because the version of you that can stay centered when everything around you is noisy, that's the version that wins. Audit your life ruthlessly. Before 2026 begins, you need to take a hard, honest look at everything around you. Your circle, your habits, your routines, your environment, and even your thoughts. Because the truth is, most people don't fail from a lack of talent. They fail because they keep carrying dead weight. You can't move forward when you're dragging things that no longer serve you. Growth demands a kind of honesty most people aren't ready for. The kind that forces you to admit where you've been lazy, where you've been avoiding change, and who you've been keeping around just because it's comfortable. Start by looking at your circle. The people you spend the most time with shape your reality more than you think. If you're surrounded by those who settle, you'll eventually start to shrink your own standards. If you're around people who always complain, negativity becomes your language. You don't owe anyone your energy if they're not helping you grow. It's not cruelty to distance yourself from those who hold you back. It's discipline. Because the truth is, some people were meant to be chapters, not lifelong companions. And that's okay. You can love someone and still know they're not right for the next stage of your life. Then, look at your habits. What are you doing every single day that's keeping you exactly where you are? Your habits are quiet decisions that build your future without you even realizing it. The things you repeat, consciously or not, are shaping the life you'll wake up to in 2026. Audit your mornings, your nights, your screen time, your eating, your thoughts. Every little action adds up. Most people wait for motivation, but the truth is, motivation fades, systems stay. Create routines that serve your goals, not your comfort zone. Discipline will take you where motivation never can. Now, examine how you spend your time. Every day, you get 24 hours, and how you use them determines your direction. Stop saying you don't have time. You do, you're just giving it away to things that don't matter. How many hours disappear scrolling through distractions or entertaining drama that adds nothing to your life? Time is your most valuable currency, and you'll never get it back. Be ruthless about where it goes. Every yes to something meaningless is a no to something that could have built you. Finally, audit your mindset. The thoughts you allow on repeat become your reality. If you keep telling yourself you're not ready, not capable, not enough, you're programming your future failure. Challenge those thoughts. Replace them with intention and clarity. You are not your past, your mistakes, or your fears, unless you keep rehearsing them. Before 2026 arrives, sit with yourself and strip everything down to what truly matters. Who you are becoming is too important to be weighed down by distractions, excuses, or comfort. Audit your life like your future depends on it, because it does. Discipline is the real flex. It's not the loudest person in the room who wins, it's the one who shows up when no one's watching. Everyone talks about goals, dreams, and change, but very few have the discipline to follow through when the excitement fades. Because motivation is temporary, it's emotional. But discipline is a decision. It's that quiet commitment you make to yourself long after the feeling has passed. It's doing what needs to be done even when you don't want to. That's where real confidence comes from. Not from applause, not from validation, but from knowing you kept your word to yourself. When you build discipline, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You don't need to feel ready. You just act. Most people are stuck because they wait for perfect conditions, when they feel motivated, when life slows down, when they're inspired. But those moments rarely come. Discipline is showing up on the hard days, the boring days, the invisible days when nobody sees you. It's putting in the work without broadcasting it. Because real power doesn't need to announce itself. It proves itself in consistency. The ones who truly grow are the ones who master repetition, the unglamorous grind that no one applauds. Confidence isn't built from comfort, it's built from effort. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you build trust in yourself. You start believing that you can rely on you. That's what separates the strong from the average. You don't get stronger by talking about how strong you are. You get stronger by doing what weak people won't. And when you begin to live that way, you don't chase validation anymore. You walk differently. You speak differently. You carry quiet certainty because you've earned it through effort no one else saw. Discipline isn't punishment, it's freedom. The moment you take control of your habits, you take control of your future. You stop being a prisoner to emotions, procrastination, and comfort. Every bit of progress in your life, mental, physical, emotional, will always come back to how disciplined you are with your focus. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. Even small, disciplined actions compound into massive change over time. That's what people don't realize. They look for shortcuts, hacks, or secrets, but there's only one truth: the work. So before 2026 arrives, build discipline like it's your armor. Make it the foundation of everything you do. Don't just chase moments of motivation. Build systems that carry you through when you don't feel like it, because the person who can control their habits can control their entire life. Discipline doesn't just shape what you do, it shapes who you become. And when you master it, you won't need to prove your worth to anyone. Your results will speak for you, louder than words ever could. Silence is power. In a world that constantly demands your opinion, your reaction, your presence online, silence becomes your greatest weapon. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your plans, or your emotions. The more you talk, the more you reveal, and sometimes, the more you weaken your own position. There's strength in restraint. When you stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided not to understand you, you reclaim your peace. You begin to realize that not every situation requires a response, and not every person deserves one. Most people speak to be seen, not to be understood. They fill the silence because they're uncomfortable with it, but silence is where clarity lives. It's where you hear yourself without the noise of opinions, gossip, or doubt. When you move quietly, you start listening more to people, to your instincts, to your surroundings. You begin to pick up on things others miss because they're too busy talking. Silence gives you control of the room without even trying. It makes people wonder what you know, what you're thinking, what you're planning. And that mystery gives you an edge. There's power in observation. When you speak less, you notice more. You see patterns in behavior, weaknesses in arguments, truths behind masks. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding strategically. People who can't control their tongues reveal everything, their intentions, their fears, their limits. But the one who stays calm, who keeps their energy measured, always wins. Because power isn't loud, it's composed. It's the person who doesn't need to prove themselves through words, because their presence already speaks volumes. Moving in silence doesn't mean hiding, it means protecting what matters. Your goals don't need to be broadcasted to be real. In fact, the more you talk about them, the more you drain the energy meant to achieve them. Work in the dark and let the results light up the room. People can argue with what you say, but they can't argue with what you've built. The most successful people don't announce every move. They let their consistency make the noise. Silence also guards your peace. The less you react to drama, the more control you keep. When someone tries to provoke you, your silence unsettles them. It forces them to sit with their own noise. You're not ignoring them. You're choosing not to lower your frequency to match theirs. That's what real composure looks like, responding with calm when others expect chaos. It's self-mastery disguised as stillness. So as you walk toward 2026, remember that silence doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Protect your words, guard your emotions, and keep your plans sacred. Speak only when it adds value. Let your growth make the announcement. Because when you understand the weight of silence, you stop chasing attention and start commanding respect without saying a single word. Be so focused, they call you cold. There comes a point in your life where you have to stop apologizing for caring about your growth more than you care about being understood. Focus has a cost, and that cost is comfort. People will call you distant, detached, or cold because they can no longer access you the way they used to. They'll think you've changed, and they'll be right. Because you can't stay available to everyone while building the version of yourself you keep saying you want to become. Focus requires boundaries. It demands that you stop scattering your energy across 100 little things that don't matter and start pouring it into what truly does. When you decide to lock in, you'll start to see how much noise you are living in, the constant messages, the unending conversations, the endless pull for attention. It all kept you busy but not productive. You were surrounded by people yet disconnected from your own direction. Focus feels uncomfortable because it exposes how distracted you've been. It forces you to sit alone with your goals, your flaws, and your excuses. That's why so few people stay focused for long. It's not that they can't, it's that they don't want to face themselves. But if you want to create something meaningful, you have to go through that isolation. You have to embrace the quiet. Being focused doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you start caring enough about yourself to protect your time and energy. Not everyone will understand that. Some will take your distance personally. They'll accuse you of being selfish, arrogant, or cold. But focus isn't arrogance, it's awareness. You finally see what drains you and what drives you, and you choose accordingly. You can't explain that to everyone, nor should you try. Those who truly value you will respect your silence because they know it's not rejection, it's redirection. There's something powerful that happens when you pull back from the noise. Your mind sharpens, You begin to see opportunities that were buried under distractions. You become intentional with your actions, deliberate with your words, and selective with your company. The more focused you become, the less you crave validation, because you start to realize how much peace comes from simply doing the work. You stop chasing attention and start chasing mastery. That's when your life changes, not because everything around you shifts, but because your attention does. So let them call you cold. Let them misunderstand your silence, your absence, your intensity. You're not here to prove your warmth, you're here to build your legacy. Focus will isolate you before it elevates you, and that's a trade only the strong are willing to make. When 2026 arrives, you won't need to explain why you pulled away. Your results will do all the talking. The same people who questioned your distance will study your discipline. Stay locked in, stay focused. Let them talk. You've got work to do. Detach from validation. The moment you stop chasing applause, you start living with real peace. Most people spend their lives performing for approval, doing things not because they want to, but because they want to be seen doing them. They dress for it, post for it, speak for it, and shape their entire identity around how others might react. And then they wonder why they feel empty. It's because the applause never lasts. You get the attention, the likes, the brief moment of recognition, and then it fades. And when it does, you start chasing the next high, the next bit of validation that tells you you're enough. But if your worth depends on someone else's opinion, you'll always be a prisoner to it. When you detach from validation, you stop living in reaction mode. You stop bending yourself to fit into expectations that were never yours to begin with. You start to ask, what do I actually want? And that's where self-respect begins. Because true confidence isn't about being admired. It's about being aligned. It's waking up and knowing that what you're doing, how you're moving, and who you're becoming are things you genuinely believe in, even if no one else notices. You don't need to be understood to be right for yourself. It's not easy to let go of validation because it's been conditioned into us from the start. We've been taught to seek approval, to impress, to please, to be accepted. Detachment takes strength. It requires you to sit with discomfort, to stand alone in your truth without needing anyone to clap for it. But that's where your power grows, in the silence that follows your decision to stop explaining yourself. The less you need to be liked, the freer you become. You start making choices based on growth instead of gratitude from others. You move with intention, not insecurity. The people who truly live on their own terms aren't cold or arrogant. They're grounded. They don't need to shout their success because they're too focused on building it. They're not addicted to validation. They're addicted to progress. When you reach that place, life gets quieter but clearer. You'll lose people who were only there for the performance, not the person. You'll disappoint those who benefited from your need to please. But you'll also attract people who value your authenticity, because real recognizes real. So before 2026 arrives, make this your turning point. Stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, do I like who I'm becoming? You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. You don't need to post every win, explain every decision, or defend your growth. Just live it. The people meant for you will see your light without you having to shine it in their eyes. The rest will fall away. The applause fades, but self-respect doesn't. When you no longer need validation to feel valuable, that's when you truly become unstoppable. Your environment is your mirror. It reflects who you are, what you tolerate, and what you believe you deserve. If you're surrounded by chaos, constant distraction, or people who drain your energy, that's not an accident. It's a reflection of the standards you've accepted. Everything around you, from the conversations you entertain to the spaces you occupy, quietly shapes your mindset. The truth is, you can't rise in a place that keeps you small. You can't grow in an environment that doesn't challenge you. Before 2026 arrives, take a hard look around and ask yourself, does my environment support the person I'm trying to become? Or does it feed the version of me I'm trying to outgrow? Sometimes it's not the big things holding you back. It's the subtle ones. The clutter you ignore every day, The people who laugh at your goals, the habits that seem harmless but steal your focus. They seem small, but they add up. The mind feeds on what it's surrounded by. If you wake up in disorder, you think in disorder. If you spend time with people who have no drive, your own ambition dulls. You can't expect clarity in chaos. You can't expect discipline when your environment encourages distraction. That's why change always begins with awareness, noticing what's actually around you and how it influences your energy. You have to be intentional about what you let in. The music you listen to, the voices you follow online, the conversations you engage in, they all shape your internal world. If your environment is full of noise, negativity, or gossip, your focus will always scatter. Protect your space like your peace depends on it, because it does. You can't think clearly when your surroundings are built to keep you comfortable. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you step into environments that demand more of you, places that make you stretch, adapt, and rise. That's how you evolve. But sometimes, changing your environment doesn't mean moving somewhere new. It means raising your standards right where you are. Clean your space, set boundaries, stop entertaining low-effort energy. Don't wait for motivation to appear. Create a setting that fuels it. You deserve to live in a space that reflects order, not chaos, ambition, not stagnation. The more you organize your surroundings, the more your mind starts to align with clarity. Energy flows where order grows. So, look around. Who do you spend your time with? What fills your space, your phone, your thoughts? Because whether you realize it or not, all of it is shaping you. Before 2026 comes, make your environment a reflection of where you're headed, not where you've been. If you want peace, create it. If you want discipline, build it. If you want success, surround yourself with it. Your environment doesn't just mirror who you are, it predicts who you'll become. Small wins, daily discipline. That's where the real transformation happens. Everyone wants the breakthrough moment, the big change, the viral success, the overnight story. But the truth is, nothing meaningful happens overnight. Success is built in the small, consistent actions that no one sees. It's built in the mornings you wake up and do what you said you would, even when you don't feel like it. It's built in the choices you make when no one's watching, the quiet discipline that adds up when others give up. The people who win in life aren't the ones who do everything perfectly. They're the ones who stay consistent when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's invisible. Every small win counts. Every decision to keep going when it would have been easier to quit shapes the person you're becoming. You don't need to move mountains every day. You just need to take small steps in the right direction. Those steps compound. You won't notice it at first, but they're building momentum beneath the surface. The gym session you didn't skip, the one chapter you read, the project you spent 10 minutes improving, those moments seem insignificant now, but they're quietly stacking up into something powerful. That's how you separate yourself from the rest. Motivation fades. It's easy to feel inspired when everything's exciting and new. But discipline is what carries you through the dull, quiet stretches of progress. That's where most people lose, not because they lack ability, but because they lose patience. They stop showing up when results don't come fast enough. But success has its own timing. It rewards the ones who can endure the slow build, the ones who don't need constant proof to stay committed. Discipline isn't glamorous, it's routine, it's repetitive, but it's also freedom. Because when you learn to master your habits, you take control of your life. You don't have to do everything at once. Start small, but start strong. Build systems that make success automatic. If you want to get better, don't wait for motivation. Create structure. Decide your priorities and protect them daily. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. Every choice is a vote for the person you want to be. Even on the days when progress feels invisible, it's still happening. The consistency you practice now will be the foundation of your breakthroughs later. So before 2026 arrives, stop chasing big wins and start collecting small ones. Be patient enough to build quietly. Celebrate progress, not perfection. The person who learns to value small wins will always outlast the one who only moves for big moments. It's not about doing more, it's about doing the right things consistently. Small wins compound into unstoppable growth. Stay disciplined, stay patient, and trust the process. Because one day, those small steps will have built a life you won't believe you once had to fight for. Let go to level up. Growth is impossible when you're carrying the weight of what no longer serves you. You can't step into a new version of yourself if your hands are full of old grudges, worn-out habits, or relationships that drain instead of uplift. Every attachment to the past is a leash that holds you back from the freedom you deserve. And yet, most people cling to these things because letting go is uncomfortable. But discomfort is exactly what signals transformation. If you want to level up, you have to embrace the uneasy truth that some things aren't meant to follow you into your future. Old relationships are often the hardest to release. It could be a friendship that has stopped growing, a family dynamic that saps your energy, or a romantic connection that no longer aligns with who you're becoming. The fear of letting go is real. Fear of loneliness, fear of judgment, fear of change. But staying because it's familiar is not loyalty, it's stagnation disguised as comfort. The people who belong in your life will support your growth, not hinder it. Those who resist your evolution are not enemies, they are simply not meant for your next chapter. Letting go doesn't mean you hate them. It means you value yourself enough to prioritize your own path. Comfort zones are another trap. You've been told that stability is safety, but safety often comes at the expense of progress. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you shrink the version of yourself that could thrive. Growth demands risk, effort, and the willingness to feel uneasy. You'll need to step into situations where failure is a possibility, where judgment is likely, and where the unknown stretches your limits. Holding on to comfort keeps you safe from discomfort, but also keeps you invisible to your own potential. If you want to level up, you have to be willing to leave safety behind and trust your ability to navigate the uncertain. Excuses are the silent killers of ambition. They whisper that now is not the time, that you're not ready, or that life is too hard. Every excuse is a decision to stay where you are, to delay progress, to avoid responsibility. To level up, you must become ruthless with them. Identify the excuses you cling to, confront them honestly, and dismantle them one by one. Excuses only exist to protect you from immediate discomfort, but they also rob you of your long-term success. Freedom and growth require honesty, discipline, and the courage to stop rationalizing why you can't change. Letting go is not loss, it's gain. It is the act of clearing space for what matters. When you release the past, the distractions, the stagnation, and the excuses, you create room for clarity, power, and focus. The version of you entering 2026 should not be weighed down by yesterday. To level up, you must shed what you've outgrown, embrace the challenge of transformation, and move forward with intention. Growth is waiting on the other side of release, and the only way to get there is to let go. Become unrecognizable. The person you are today should not be the person you walk into 2026 as. Growth is not incremental, it's transformative. If you do not push yourself to evolve so drastically that your old habits, fears, and doubts feel foreign, then you've settled for comfort over progress. Transformation demands intensity, courage, and an unwillingness to remain static. Your future self should look back at 2025 and see someone they no longer relate to, not because the past was bad, but because it was the version of you that was not yet capable of everything you are about to achieve. To become unrecognizable, you must first break your old patterns. Those patterns, the late nights of procrastination, the people you tolerated, the excuses you rehearsed, must be left behind. Growth requires shedding the familiar, even when it's comfortable, even when it feels safe. Your mind, body, and spirit all need a reset, a clearing away of the old self to make space for the new. Every decision you make from now on should be in alignment with who you want to be, not who you were. If a habit doesn't build you, if a person doesn't elevate you, if a thought doesn't challenge you, it doesn't belong in your life. Isolation can be part of this transformation. The more you commit to becoming unrecognizable, the fewer people will understand the process. They may criticize your intensity, your silence, or your sudden shifts in priorities. That's natural. Not everyone is ready to witness your evolution. But that's okay, because evolution is personal, and it cannot be performed for an audience. You cannot ask permission to grow. You cannot wait for approval to change. The process will be lonely at times, but it will be necessary. Solitude often becomes the fertile ground where your new identity takes root. Your environment, your habits, and your mindset must all change. You must cultivate disciplines so strict they reshape your daily life. You must develop skills and knowledge that your old self could never have imagined. You must demand more from yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically than you ever have before. Every choice must reflect a commitment to transformation. The old you would have resisted this level of intensity. The new you will embrace it. The old you feared failure. The new you sees it as a tool for growth. The old you sought approval. The new you seeks mastery. By the time 2026 arrives, your life should feel different. Not superficially, but fundamentally. Your energy, your priorities, your confidence, your clarity, and your presence should be unmistakably transformed. When your future self looks back, they should barely recognize the person you were a year ago, because that version of you was limited by fear, habit, and distraction. Becoming unrecognizable is not about losing yourself. It's about becoming everything you were meant to be. It is about stepping into a power and potential that your past self could not even comprehend. The journey is hard, but the result is a life so remarkable, so aligned with your true potential, that nothing about it will feel ordinary.